Hello again, Stephen. As you already know, a few weeks ago, Trish and I went to Paris. Now, when it comes to cities that have established universal mental image invocation, you pretty much have Paris and New York City. What I mean is that when you hear Paris, you think of this image, or you think of the accent, or the food, or the quaint accordion music. Sure, there are other major cities with famous landmarks, but in my mind, none that carry quite the mental image that you get with Paris. All of this is to say that it's pretty much impossible to go there without a preconceived notion of what to expect. The movies will tell you that Paris is the city where people fall in love, or where the food will blow your mind, or where artists will go to truly find themselves. The internet will tell you that the city is overrun by tourists, or that it's dirty, or that the locals will turn their nose up at you as a tourist, especially an American tourist. And despite all of these attempts to tell you, or basically yell at you, what you will discover Paris to be when you visit, there is an equal number of sources saying that you will never understand the true Paris. Like, there is some secret side to the city that will only present itself to the chosen few. There's a whole song devoted to this notion from a Cole Porter musical. You may know Paris, but you don't know Paris. So did I discover Paris? Of course not. We were only there 6 days, and since we had never been there before, our goals were strictly tourism-centric. We needed to see the sights, obviously. I must say, I went on this trip with very managed expectations, and frankly, the city exceeded all of these. With the movies building it up and the internet knocking it down, I figured our experience would end up somewhere in the middle, and of course the city would be like every other major European city that we've visited so far, overpolluted with fellow tourists. Honestly, the crowds? Fairly mild compared to what we saw in Rome and Venice. The food that we tried was delicious, of course. We've never been the most adventurous when it comes to international dining experiences, so no, we did not bend over backwards to ensure that we tried every aspect of local French cuisine. That's not to say that we didn't eat any French food at all, but guess what? Don't hate me much, but they have Uber Eats in Paris, and at the end of a long day of walking and sightseeing, this is a relaxing and easy option that lets you crash in your hotel while still eating locally. And frankly, it's a cheaper alternative too to dining out. Next, let's talk about the locals. It almost makes me sad to say that we never, not once, experienced the famous French snobbery while we were there. You see it in the movies, in people's online reviews of local sites and restaurants. You're made to expect almost a cartoonish level of snobbishness when it comes to Parisians, and no, we didn't see it. Every place we visited, every museum, every bakery, we were met with nothing but politeness and smiles. Every morning when I frequented the bakery next door to our hotel, I was greeted with a cheery bonjour and immense levels of patience as I stumbled through my order with very limited French. The one time someone pointed out how bad our grasp of the French language was happened when we went to the opera. Prior to taking our seats, we went to the bar to grab a bottle of water, and after ordering in French, Trish said, "Sorry, my French is terrible," and the man behind the bar laughed and said, "Yes, but my English is terrible as well." Mind you, he said that sentence in perfect non-accented English. I mean, that wasn't even a mean thing to say, and that's like the closest we ever got to someone making a snide remark to us. Okay, so to maintain some consistency with my previous trip videos on this channel, I'll do a quick run-through of our various stops while we were in Paris, and we'll try to keep it very brief. We arrived on Sunday morning, took a cab to our hotel, grabbed lunch, and then went to the Rodin Museum. From there, we walked north, past Les Invalides, crossed the Alexander III Bridge, and then proceeded to the Orangerie Museum. We then took the long road through the Tuileries Garden, past the Louvre, and then went back to our hotel. Monday, we went to Le Palais Garnier, the big opera house, then to Choco Story, a chocolate museum, and then farther north to Montmartre, where we visited Le Sacré-Cœur, rode Le Petit Train, and looked for souvenirs at the local gift shops. Tuesday, we started in the Luxembourg Gardens, then walked over to Montparnasse Tower, where the rooftop offers what is reputed to be the best view in the city. From there, we returned to Les Invalides, but this time we went inside to visit the war museums and the tombs of the Napoleons. That night, we went to the opera, where sadly I have no camera in tow. Wednesday, we started with the Arc de Triomphe and ended with the Louvre Museum, which was absolutely incredible and unlike anything I was expecting it to be. Fun fact about the Mona Lisa, behind the wall upon which the painting sits, there is a gift shop devoted entirely to Mona Lisa merchandise. Thursday, south to the Conciergerie, one of the prisons during the French Revolution and where Marie Antoinette was held prior to her execution. Next door is Sainte-Chapelle, and then just a couple of blocks east is Notre Dame. Back to the hotel and then north to the National Picasso Museum that afternoon. Friday morning started with the Eiffel Tower, followed by a train to Versailles. We had tickets, but the lines were so long, even for people who did have tickets, that unless you had a time ticket, you were going to be spending hours waiting in line. So instead, we spent our time walking through the garden instead of waiting for the chateau, which was time well spent, if you ask me. Overall, this trip was incredible, and I can't wait to see where we go next. Stephen, I'll talk to you later.